Hello friend, as we know that the power of transmission require different sort of means. The different sort of drive are required for the making the power transmission. So today we are going to discuss about the belt drive. So before that we have to know what about the drive. So we have categorized the drive into the two types, the rigid drive and the flexible drive. My dear friend, rigid drive is also known as a non-flexible drive. So what is a rigid drive? Rigid drive is that drive where the contact between the driver and driven are the direct. There is no any intermediate link. But if you are providing any intermediate link between the driver and the driven, at that time it's come under the flexible drive. So flexible drive are basically categorized into three types: belt drive, chain drive and rope drive, whereas the rigid are termed as the gear drive, where the direct contact will take place. So let us start the journey with the belt drive. Belt drive is the best drive for the power transmission. Why? Let's see. It is categorized into two types: flat belt drive and V belt drive. Sometimes we also go for the round belt drive, but basically we are using these two sort of drive, flat belt and V belt. In the flat belt, the cross section is your narrow rectangular as shown in the figure, whereas in the V belt, it's of trapezoidal, which is shown by this figure. In the trapezoidal, the side angle which is created is always 40 degree. And if you are talking about the velocity ratio, the velocity ratio is 4:1 in the case of flat and the 7:1 in the case of, we can say, trapezium or V belt drive. But what is the advantage? Why are you going for the rigid? Why we are going for the flexible? Let's see. Rigid drive is used when it occupies the very less space. When we require very high velocity ratio, we are going with the rigid drive. But in the case of flexible drive, the transmit, if you want to be transmit power for the long distance, at that time the rigid drive having some limitations. So we are going with the flexible. It's a transmit power over a long distance. Here we can say like a 50 meters, 20 meters, it's like that. Second, it provides the considerable flexibility between the location. We don't go with the some identified location. The locations can be changed as per your accordance. Third, it's the cheapest as compared to the rigid. It requires a lot of skill, but in this case we don't require any sort of so much skilly work. And the last one, as the distance is long, as there is a intermediate link between the two pulley, we have absorb shock and the damp vibration, which is a possibility and the advantage of the flexible. Now dear, let's start with the flat belt. In the flat belt we have the advantage and disadvantage. In your examination, basically the question is asked, in your interview the question is asked, what is the advantage of flat belt over the V? What is the advantage of flat belt over the round? What is the disadvantage you have encountered with the flat belt? So let's start with the advantage. First advantage, my dear friend, the best advantage, that it's cheap in nature and it's very easy to maintain. You don't want to be giving a lot of burden on the money only to make it repair. Second, it can be used for the long distance. As I told you earlier, it's almost 15 meter we can able to make it. Third, it requires no closed casing. Means if you use in the open area, in the atmosphere, no corrosion should be there, no rusting problem should be there. It can be used for the open area and its efficiency is more than the V belt. My dear friend, it's a more and more efficient as per the V belt drive. And the last one, it's a simple in design and it's a very inexpensive. We have not again giving any sort of burden on our pocket. But the disadvantages are the velocity ratio is very low. As I mentioned here, it's a 4:1, my dear friend, whereas in the V belt it's a 7:1. So we have to compromise here in the velocity ratio, and that come under the disadvantage. Second, the larger dimension, because we are going to take in the rectangular blocks, we have given the larger dimensions, the dimensions should be more, and because of that the space should be also more. The third one, it produces noise whenever you operate in the very high speed. It's very noisy dear, it's very noisy. It means it is a best disadvantage for the atmosphere. It produces sound pollution, we can say like that, and it never applicable for the vertical drive. As we go for the horizontal, it's okay, but in the case of vertical, it's having some limitations. In order to overcome that limitation, we have the V belt drive. The advantages are very simple. It's a compact construction, as we have seen here the diagram. It's a compact in nature. It's operate in any position. There is no any burden. Horizontal, no fix. Vertical is also there. We can also use in the inclined manner also. Now third, the drive is positive, means in this whenever the belt is moving in that pulley, then it's going to provide the groove, and because of that the friction is very good and there are not going to be any sort of slipping. The fourth one, smooth and quiet. My dear friend, as we have seen in the flat, the operation is going to produce lot of noise, but here it's a quiet in nature, it's a smooth operation we can say in the any high speed operation, working operation. The last one, high speed reduction. If you want to reduce your height speed from 7 to 1, it's a possible in the case of V, whereas it's a challenge in the case of flat belt. But again, it's having some limitations, or we can say like some disadvantage. These are as follow. The efficiency is lower here, as we have mentioned. The flat is having a higher efficiency as compared to the V belt. Second, higher creep is there. My dear friend, creep is a phenomenon which is happened because of stretching of the belt from the tight portion to the slack portion. That is the more and more in the case of V belt drive. Construction of groove is also complicated. Sometimes how much angle you have to provide. Basically we have going to provide the 40°, but the side by side angle sometimes is going to be changed as per the accordance, but you have to give your lot of skill in the case of construction of the groove. Next, the cross sectional height to the pulley diameter ratio is larger, and because of that the bending stress is going to be come more and more, and sometimes it's also going to be a failure. So my dear friend, these all are about of the drive, different types of drive, their comparison. In our next lecture or video, we are going to be discuss about the length of the belts. Thank you very much. Thank you.